All right, let me know if you have trouble hearing me. I can switch to a different microphone. So I know this one tends to go out.
It's good right now. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. All right. First order, call to order the February meeting of the Easthampton Historical Commission. It's February 3rd, 2021, and the time is 6:32. First order of business is public speak. Don't see any public. Anybody from our group want to say anything outside of the agenda items?
No.
Okay. Second order of business is the approval of the December 9th and the January 13th minutes. Everybody received the other minutes last night.
Yes. Thank you for getting it to us.
Let's take the December minutes first. Any changes? Edits, additions, whatever. If not, we can have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the December minute meeting notes.
Laura makes a motion to move it to
Second.
to approve. Beverly approves. Seconds. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye, Captain.
Aye.
Beverly and Mike. Okay. Now the January minutes. Anything, any additions, deletions, changes of any sorts?
Nope.
Nope. Motion to approve as written.
Move we approve as written.
Hello. Okay, second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Beverly.
Yeah, aye.
Very good. Mostly. All right, correspondence. Jane, do we have anything that snuck in while?
I have not seen, there's been nothing in by USPS. Been communicating with MHC and Paleo West regarding the survey and planning grant. We'll provide an update to that when we get to that.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, I didn't think there was, I haven't seen anything, nothing came across in my emails or anything like that. So I guess it's pretty quiet out there at this point.
Yep.
Right, so shall we move on to the demo delay bylaw revisions? I guess I have one question, Jamie, you could probably answer. If besides the ordinance as it's written, I mean, if we want to require something like signage and all that, does that have to be in the ordinance, or was that just like a rule that we can impose, you know?
It depends on how the ordinance is written. Generally speaking, ordinances will give like the historic commission the ability to create reasonable rules and regulations to administer the ordinance.
Okay.
But we'd have to put something in the ordinance like that that says that the historical commission can.
Requirements of the historical commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but it might be best. We can tackle that a few different ways. It's kind of best practice to not put all of the sort of like application materials and things like that into the ordinance, because then when those things inevitably are going to change, then we have to go back to city council to change the ordinance to, like, let's say go from 10 copies of a paper, 10 copies of an application to 3 copies of an application and digital submission or something like that. When really it's a administrative thing of the board to just kind of change how that, what sort of application materials.
Right. So,
But to clarify, we can still add that into an individual package, right?
Yeah, but so I think if we wanted to have like signs on the property stating that this property has been slated for a demolition delay or something like that, or that there's a public hearing or things like, we may, we can figure out how to word that in the ordinance, so that way it gives future historical commissions an ability to change that or not, but without having to go back to city council. Unless the thing is so important that it really ought to be in the ordinance.
Right. Well, the signage part might be something that you want to put right in the ordinance. The application package, maybe just reference that, you have to fill out this for the historical commission. You don't have to say what's in it at that point until
Right.
they get it. And because that way, then you can change things, if it's, especially if you keep it fluid at the beginning, you might think that some things that work, some things that don't, you can add or delete. Okay. I think, I don't think anybody's touched any of those documents at this point that are in there, right? Besides you, Jamie, probably not since the last time we talked about it.
Yeah, it looks like the last modification date is December 9th, which would have been the December meeting. So if it's helpful to go through this as a committee, I can turn on screen sharing and we can go through it and talk through it, or if I'll just leave with that suggestion open if there's another suggestion for how to proceed.
How does everybody feel? Do they want to talk about it today, or do you want to look for later? I mean, I'm at this point, I'm willing to go through it. I don't really have a problem with that. We don't have a real busy schedule today anyway, so we want to take 10 minutes or so to go through it, 15 minutes?
Yeah, we keep putting it off,
I know.
so it would be a good thing to start going through it.
These weeks just go flying by now, so.
They certainly do.
Yeah, and it's almost like we just had a meeting yesterday, didn't we? I mean, I'm looking at it going like, yeah, I know it's a week early, but boy, that really went by quick. And then I start looking back for an email and it's like, wow, that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't you put it up and we can take it section by section and break it down.
See that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Try to.
Now, are the underlined parts changes or?
No, the underlined parts are where it's giving me the double blue underline is like grammar suggestions or things like that. So you can ignore them. The changes that I've suggested are in red.
Okay, oh, there you go.
And then there's some comments as well.
Add that in this section here. All right, so you haven't changed a whole lot here. Okay, the owner of the property place of shine.
So to go back to the conversation we're just having, if you look at number 3 in the red there, I put in a proposal for placing a sign visible from the road. And when the public hearing will be.
Yeah, I guess
Here's,
what it comes down to, you might want to be very specific as to how big the sign should be.
well, I was just gonna say something about a minimum of a certain size font.
I wonder if it wouldn't be
Size.
better to put it more in terms of like readable from the road or something, so that it's not, because that's the point, right? The whole.
Yeah,
Right. More, yeah, instead of visible. I've seen a lot of those little yellow signs in places and you have to go up close to read them.
Yeah, I will agree with that. But a lot of times you go by something, you know, they're doing that work in the park, cleaning the pond, trying to, sorry, the brain's not connecting with what that word is that they're settling basin, silt basin there, or whatever, weir. And there's little signs that are, you know, they're probably legal size or maybe a little bit bigger, maybe 11 by 17, but you drive by them and you basically have to stop and walk right up to them to see what they actually say.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's fine if you're walking, but not so much when you're driving by.
Just throwing this out there, but given that the CPA, we've been requiring signage, I wonder, Jamie, do you think, or do people think we should have like a sign made that they have to use that's the more generic, this sign, or, you know, this building under review for demolition, and then they have to provide the date and time part? I mean, I'm just wondering if there's a way we can accomplish our goal without bickering about font sizes with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know that Northampton has these yellow signs. They look like they're just like small. You see, like the signs that say like the Black Lives Matter signs, the little, and they have ones like that that are yellow, and they have a little pocket for a sheet of paper that you can put in there that the applicant, I presume, will, or the planning department, whatever, would put in there that has the specifics of the date and the time and thing like that.
They're barely readable though.
Yeah. But I think, you know, there's a cost and a time delay to having signs made.
Well, this is why I was wondering. My thinking is if we had a large vinyl sign made that says this building under review for demolition, you know, as per historic commission or something, and that's a sign that's reused, and that's what it says to get your attention, big, you know, 7-foot banner, under review for demolition, big bold words. And then, you know, pockets for things and the stuff, you know, if you want to get but at least that way, people driving by and people in the neighborhood, there's no, my goal here would be that there is no way anybody who lives nearby would not know that this building is under consideration for demolition.
Right.
But then we leave to them the printing of the detailed part. You know, my thinking is that having the sign printed would help forego the problem of like, oh, well, yeah, we had trouble finding a printer or whatever. It's like, well, the big yellow sign goes up, here it is, no excuses. And, you know, and the part about a little pocket with the details about where because the meetings.
I don't think you even need pocket to put it. You could just have the main banner about the demolition and actually have a date, time, location that you could just write in marker or something.
Oh.
You know, like an erasable marker.
One that would stay if it rained and all?
Yeah.
Sharpie.
Well, the point is to reuse the sign though, right?
Well,
It's gotta be.
you can wipe it off with alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just put in there if we put this on the applicant, then they have to prove to the historical commission that the sign was in place long enough, you know, and it's the historical commission's job to just make sure that that this was done according to the regulations. If the historical commission says we'll provide you with the sign, then the historical commission is now taking that on to create the sign, you know, drop off the sign, pick up the sign, coordinate with the property owner, all the bits and pieces that would have to happen.
So you're saying you think it's more rigmarole and more difficult for us to have a sign. You think it's easier and quicker to put it on them?
I mean, I see it going both ways, but we don't have, if the building commissioner is the person to enforce the ordinance and making these, determinations, are they going to be handing out signs to applicants? Does the historic commission do it? I don't.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I guess I was agreeing though that I think if we simply say you have to put up a sign, they'll have a 3x5 index card with a 6-point font and say we did what you asked. I'm with folks that are like, no. These people aren't our enemies, but they're also not going to go out of their way to satisfy these criteria unless they're a prerequisite, a condition put upon them.
Yep. I tend to agree with you there because you know how some people are. I'm looking for the where I saw the one town that did require the sign. I want to see how they wrote it. I don't. Read the instructions.
It is a good point that you all have made, because if someone is in the process of trying to do something with the property, apply for demolition and do something else on top of that, they're already doing a whole bunch of things. So this is just one part of their process, and it shouldn't be that.
Well, should be able to get a sign
Right.
fairly easily too. I would
Exactly.
imagine.
I just, that's why I was concerned about the size of the font. And I think John stated it well, because if it was a Post-it note on a toothpick, that's not gonna do anything.
I mean, so what if we put it that the historical commission shall determine the specific requirements for the minimum size of the sign and fonts?
You have an extra S on specific. Thank you.
Seems like it gets the point across at
Yeah.
this stage. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, we can tweak it later if that's
Yeah.
generally okay.
Yeah.
And that gives the commission flexibility. If something's not working, to experiment as we go.
we could also create a PDF with a design that they could work from.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. You just have to give them specifics on how big it needs to be minimum,
Yep.
So, whether it's, you'd be able to see it from so many, I'm sure there's got to be standards out there, right, for signs.
Yeah, and the fact that it's stated clearly that it should be visible and legible from the road, I think that makes the intent pretty.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
clear.
also, I don't think it needs to be legible from the road at 50 miles an hour.
Right.
So the expectation would be that people would stop and see the sign and look at it to try to figure out what's going on there.
Well, I guess I would state my goal is that even without stopping, they should know that the building may be demolished. If they want to stop and get details on the meeting or what the intentions are, I think that's good and we should encourage it. But my goal would be that even at 50 miles an hour on my way home with screaming kids in the back of the car, I should know that my neighbor's house is going to be demolished, even if I didn't get anything in the mail, even if I didn't read the paper and I'm unaware of the public notification. I should know.
Okay.
Were my kids in your car, John?
They were really good. They weren't screaming.
Oh, geez, well, what kind of kids are those?
Apparently asleep.
If I can scan this and put it up, I will. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but I have Medford sign requirements. Now they require a sign once it has been determined to be significant. So that's probably before a public hearing anyways, right?
Yeah, and so that's this time. If the determination is positive, that the structure is potentially significant.
So
So
be able to put this up, right? If that goes back there. Jeez.
Jamie, could you scroll down a little bit? Just, yeah, thank you.
Okay, come on. What am I doing wrong? Okay, working. May take a while, but you know.
Can you hear the train in the background here?
I sure can. I love it.
Reminds
I
me
do.
of home.
I love it too. I love hearing the train come through.
It's one of the best sounds ever.
what's that?
That
That looks good.
So there we go. We can make a PDF or something like that that has proposed language. You can give it to the applicant and then they can give it back. We approve it, then they go print it, and it's and they have to display it.
yeah. Oh boy. Let's see here. Supposed to save it as a PDF, but I don't know if it did. It might have saved it as a picture. Not really.
I'm not sure I caught that, Mike. What did you say?
Oh, I'm just kind of talking to myself here, sort of. I said it's supposed to save as a PDF, but I'm not sure it did. Yeah, I'm not sure where it went. The anyways, let's see.
Should,
Yeah.
I'm looking at number 6, and during the moratorium, should there be some wording that says we really, the property owner should keep the building in decent condition so that it doesn't deteriorate during that time? Because we've had that happen before.
That is a good point.
We have, but how would you word that? I mean, what's the quantification of it is the hard part.
I think that would be best left to a separate ordinance We have, there are examples of minimum maintenance ordinances that require buildings to be maintained to minimum standards and give the building commissioner abilities to.
I have to say, why don't we already have that?
I mean, obviously it hasn't come up, hasn't been wanted by enough people, members of the community to.
Interesting.
warrant
Two
it.
words come to mind, and they both rhyme with furry.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really hard to compel property owners to take care of their own property. So,
But if I'm correct, there are some towns and cities that then have an increasing penalty for that, right? At which point, is it true that even in some cases they can even then take the property if it's neglected for long enough?
if the fees aren't paid, the way that Holyoke deals with it is that they have a minimum maintenance ordinance, and you basically pay a fee to the city for not maintaining your building or having it vacant or unoccupied. And then if you don't pay that fee, then then the city can come in and take your building.
I would advocate that Easthampton should have that. And it seems to me like that can be very fair too. You can make it a really small fee that's just, a technicality for people that keep up on it, and then ramp it up really quickly for people that are negligent, so that it's like, yeah, 2 years after you abandon your building, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah, I think that there has to be.
Well, I'm being a little hyperbolic. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean,
given this is a public and recording meeting, I should say that at some point we wish to have recourse to prevent demolition by, what's the phrase?
Neglect.
Neglect.
Yeah.
I guess we can put in words here that would make the commission happy that during the moratorium, the applicant shall keep the building in good working order. I don't know the exact.
How about stable? What if, is that a?
But we won't have. There won't be any. If the applicant chooses not to, it's not like the commission would have any recourse.
Yeah, that's the real problem. I guess we'd be looking for some way to state that without putting any particular kind of like building inspector going in and verifying. We're just looking for some way to say that you can't use a loophole of, oh yeah, who knows what happened while I wasn't paying attention, and that's too late.
And we appeal to just even the phrasing of good faith, and then that way it's not, we're not threatening a specific consequence, but it's for lack of a better word, like a moral request that they keep the place in good standing and have good faith to do that.
Yeah. Well, we had that problem at Ferry Street when he took out all the windows. And then when we talked to him, like, well, are you going to seal this place up? And he's like, looked at us and no. What can you do? I mean, we don't really have any recourse against them,
On the other hand, is this where we're talking before about, would this be the point we would take them to court? Is that maybe where it shifts, Jamie? Would it move from okay, we're still working with you, to, okay, you're now in contradiction with, would it then shift to, is that where that should kick in?
I don't think I follow your question.
I guess I was remembering that we've taken all of this is the result of us taking it to the lawyer or whoever and having them give us advice. And if I recall correctly, one of their comments was, well, your recourse to action if someone really fails is to take them to court.
Right.
So I'm just wondering at what point, do we just shift over from trying to put verbiage in the ordinance to cover every possible base? And at what point does the scale simply tilt to, okay, that's the point at which we're just going to take you to court? Like if they just literally made a hole in the ceiling on their way out the door after we said, we don't want you to demolish it, and left the doors and windows open and, started roosting pigeons. What would we do to say this is definitely in, you're not compliant?
I don't know if it's that easy, actually, is it? Remember, you were at that seminar, right, Jamie? And it seemed like somebody besides the cities and towns are ones that are kind of like, well, we'll take it over because I have to really dig up all those notes. I don't really remember. I got the sign requirements from Medford, readable. Can I use the share screen thing? So excuse me for a minute. I'm gonna get rid of your thing there.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yep.
Just my screen just went all kind of freaky. You guys went to the side here. So yeah, it gives you font sizes and 24 by 36. Laminated, cured to plywood. They're pretty specific about what they want.
Well, this is emboldening, really. I mean, they are they're very specific and deliberate. Maybe we don't have to worry so much about that.
I mean, this is so this is after something's deemed significant, you would have them put up this sign and then go through the rest of the process.
But it does not look to me like this sign requirement is part of their ordinance. It looks like it is separate from their ordinance. I would be curious, Mike, if this sign.
Well, let's see, per section required. Well, that's a good question. That's that's the kind of the things that we need to get into.
So I hate to throw this in, but is the simple solution, and is this what you were getting at, Jamie, is by making the sign ordinance a separate thing, like having a sign requisite, we can simply refer to that in our demo delay ordinance, and that way if it changes separate, we don't have to go in and change the other ordinance.
Is this
Correct. And so what I was trying to get at was that the commission can issue the regulations regarding what has to be on the sign and how big and all that. So it's not in the ordinance. It just says the historical commission can do these things without changing the ordinance. So.
But we could also have, I forget what this was called, Mike, it was up at the top, but whatever this is called, this sign requisite, we could refer to that in the ordinance. We could say, as per the sign requisite in whatever number legal document this is. And that way we could change the sign requisites without having to go back and change the demo delay ordinance.
Exactly.
This seems almost like an extension of the legal notice that you need to put in the paper and send to the abutters and all that.
Yeah, but we don't even need all of that in there. I think like the important thing.
Well, I'm not saying from us. I'm just saying what this right here is. It seems to me, anyways. But which is not a bad thing because then people know that there's going to be a public hearing without having to go through the paper and look at every little tiny ad. So I mean, this is just the one thing here. I would think you could probably have something if you put a demo delay on somebody. You could probably say this building is slated to, unless, well, I guess the other requirements that we're looking at is actually having them list the building if they were, if they're under the demo delay, where they have to list it with a real estate agent and, make an active effort to sell it, which that language has to go into the ordinance to make them, give them something to comply with, basically, instead of just a suggestion that they need to do something. Anyways, we got this. I can always put this up on the in the file share there, and people can take a look at it. It is what it is. Just something that that was out there. So
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm just on their website, and they have a 10-page packet.
Yep.
Explaining the demolition delay process, and
this is Medford, right?
yeah, Medford. So, and that's not the ordinance itself. It's just their sort of explanation of the process.
Yep.
So, and it might be helpful to look at that.
I have a copy of that too. I can scan and put that up. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Can I just add, I'm sorry, another reason why the signage is actually increasingly significant is the decrease in readership of newspapers in general,
Good point.
including ours here, the Gazette. So it's an important outreach, because there's going to be very little, unless we start asking for people to put things on Facebook, which I
Some of
don't
us don't use at all.
neither. Yeah, I don't
I've-
either. So I don't right. So I'm just saying, as far as
I think this is superior. I've thought for a while that people just don't see these notices in the paper, and it's just a contractual obligation that does not satisfy the intention behind it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, because it's usually they get buried anyways. So unless you're really looking through the legal ads, you don't ever.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, just in the Medford ordinance, all it says is the commission may also require that the applicant maintain on the building which is the subject of an application a notice in a form designated by the commission, visible from the nearest public way, of any hearing on the subject matter. And that's all it says about the signage. So I think it's acceptable to sort of do something like what we're talking about, place a sign on the property visible and legible from the road, stating, structures under review, and leaving it sort of a little bit vague, and leaving it for the historical commission to make the specific regulations at some point in the future. And then if we want to change it to, using a sign that the building commissioner hands out, that can be easily changed. Or if it's, we don't like the color or the font sizes, and we can learn from it and change it pretty easily.
On our timeline, when we determine significance, we usually have the public hearing within 2 weeks. Is that right? Or do we have 30 days?
For our purposes, once the commission makes the initial determination, then it has to be, then we have to have a public hearing, and it has to be published, that the notice has to be published for 14 days in advance of the hearing in the newspaper. So,
this would go up at the same time the newspaper ad went in.
Yeah, and so it would make sense that that's up there for 2 weeks before the hearing.
Yeah, that's what they're requiring, is 2 weeks before the hearing. So I kind of like this idea because it does definitely hit, more people, especially people that pass it all the time, or, they're kind of vested neighborhood people and whatnot. Not
But,
that,
so when we do the legal ads, they run about $250 or
mhm.
so per legal ad. And so I think it's reasonable to say, everyone knows that no one's actually looking at the newspaper for these legal ads. We could consider removing the requirement for posting in the newspaper and just having a posting on the property. And mailing and notices that are then mailed to abutters.
I wonder, I mean, maybe
Jamie, could you put our list up, and because I have a question about one of the wordings that you were putting up. The last sentence that you were typing in, a good faith effort to maintain the building. How about a good faith effort to maintain the integrity of the building?
And another thought I had, which again, I don't mean to assume the worst or any malintention, but that the sign has to some kind of wording about the sign staying up. So if they say, oh, I put the sign up and it was up for an hour or a day, and then they took it down or someone else took it down, it has to be replaced and be there for that duration of time.
well, let's see.
Instead of just the 2 weeks, what if it was for,
According
you say that?
to the requirements of Medford, the sign must remain standing until after the conclusion of the public hearing. And they have requirements as to how it needs to be on a plywood backer, staked to the ground in 2 spots so it doesn't fall over, and stuff like that.
That's great.
I was just wondering too if maybe we should check with a printer like Tipton Town or whoever, and or they're not there anymore, right? Or are they?
I think that the
To see
Medford
how much
sign,
one of these would cost,
I think the Medford sign's a little bit overkill, honestly.
Possibly, yeah. But they may not come up very often though.
But I mean the little just little lawn signs that we see around that are like 2 feet by 2 feet are,
Like election signs.
yeah, I mean, they should be sufficient if they're visible from the road to say like, 15 words on them, and that would all be, this
Yeah.
property is under demolition delay. More information.
Well, just
More information.
yeah.
ma.gov/historic. And like, like
I guess
all we need.
I would like to, yeah, my pitch would be for something bigger and more prominent, which is one of the reasons I thought if we had a reusable one, especially because these will be one-time use otherwise,
yeah.
At least for getting people's attention. Again, I'm going to stick with my mantra here that the point is that people are aware of it, that they know, that nobody's ever surprised that a building suddenly disappeared.
I agree with you, John. Being a graphic designer, I have seen so many signs that are not readable from the road or even walking.
And I would even argue that if it has any resemblance to a political or a commentary sign, that's just more likely that it'll be ignored as just yet another yard sign. I was really thinking like the CPA with a 6-foot on 2x4 vinyl banner in a bright color. Again, the point is not to make it easy or convenient for anybody other than the people that need to know the building is going to disappear. I'm sorry. I guess I'm being a little harsh, but that's how I feel.
And I think, John, that like leaving it sort of vague with the commission to approve the proposed wording size and color of the size, sign, and fonts would be, you know,
Yeah,
we can
I agree. I think that gets us through for now. We can move on from this part of our
Right.
ordinance by having that be a separate document that we can work out, and even gives us some flexibility that we could have some wiggle room.
I like the idea for, and another thing is just because some people that just want to tear down a house because they want to tear it down, this would kind of discourage them maybe by having to do that. But who knows?
Well, and I'll even go a step further and say if somebody wants to tear a house down and no one objects, why shouldn't they?
Right.
The point is when, and this has happened to me even, when someone down the block suddenly demolishes the building and you didn't even know it was going to go and there wasn't a chance to do anything.
Well, the thing too, you put the sign up and then in a normal demolition delay, you may have 2 or 3 people that were sent notifications because they're butters that show up to the meeting. People driving by that look at it and go, oh my God, we got to do something about that. You might get a lot more people to show up.
I think in a perfect world also, then people would know easily how to check up on it. Like if I see the yellow sign, I'm just a citizen and I see the sign, I'm like, oh, hey, I care about that building and I want to know what's going on. And hopefully I can go to the city website, find out like, oh yeah, the thing they were proposing looks good and everything seems in order, and I won't attend the meeting. I'm satisfied. And the temperature is lowered, as opposed to the, tribalism that can arise from people feeling affronted, especially right at the edge of their fence.
Right. The other thing too on that sign requirement there, they actually have reference to the application materials that people could review them. And obviously Medford asks for a lot. Of course, they might have a lot more, historical homes in that area. So it may be more fitting for them to do that as opposed to us. But then again, it can't hurt. I mean, it just makes it a little bit more, a couple more hoops to jump through for the person that wants to tear a house down. That's not necessarily an awful thing. And if they, if they want to do it bad enough, they'll comply with this.
But, there again, it's an opportunity for people in the community to know that something is happening and they might be able to do something about it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. All right. So we don't need to, keep beating this to death yet, but I mean, it's a start with, it's an option. Like I said, I kind of like the idea of the application packet too, where you're asking for, some specifics on the building, pictures and whatnot when you apply, and, the intention of what you're doing with the property and all that too. Not that would really inform our decision a lot. Okay.
Just because we just got off of this, but on 8.7, would we want to add a little bit to the sentence that says the property owner shall report to the commission on a monthly basis of their efforts, et cetera, and something to the effect that, how would we put it, that in any significant changes to the building or anything that would make them responsible for even notifying us if, let's say, a tree fell through the roof or something that they otherwise wouldn't care about because they want to tear it down, but we would want to know because it significantly impacts the potential for the building. So I guess that would be and to any, I don't know if significant, and to the condition of the building, just report on the efforts to preserve, et cetera, and the condition of the building. Would that satisfy?
Where are you now? Section?
8.7 at the very end. I'm just wondering
Okay.
on the statement that they have to report monthly. If they're reporting to us monthly and we have included something that says, we don't just want to know that you've done good faith effort to find something, but we want to know if for any reason anything has happened or changed about the building,
You're saying
especially. Yeah.
Something like certifying that the building's still in good condition, it's secure.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to get too specific with the language, but yeah, and Nora, maybe you've got something here, but
Just a, like, as far as wording, like a current update.
about
I
the
said
what I was aiming at was the state of the building.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a current update of the state of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Property, yeah. Yeah, so that kind of hedges our bet a little bit too. So not only are we saying you have to do this and you have to have a good faith effort, then we're asking them to report monthly on not only their good faith effort, but did raccoons move into the attic? Did a tree fall on the roof? Did you leave the doors open? Now they're obligated to tell us, even if they.
Did they forget to shut the water off and the pipes froze and they had a major water problem, which
Yeah.
that's happened in the past.
I recall that happening and being a pretty significant thing to the whole town. Everybody cared when that happened.
Yeah.
And that happens more than you know.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it is 25 after 7. Do you want to continue this, Dane, or do
I feel like we've given Jamie enough hassle with all this language change.
Well,
it's easy to do. It's easy to do with you guys present. Designed by committee, for better or worse. It's slow, but like nothing's happening in between meetings. So
yeah.
I'd rather just keep plugging away on this. We can just plug away on it for a half hour, 45 minutes every meeting. We'll eventually get to a place that.
Yeah, as long as we make some kind of progress. I mean, we're not making any firm decisions right now, and it's got to be this way. I don't think anybody's pushing for that. It's just, we got some options, and we should at least look at them all.
Right.
All right. So, shall we move along? I think you're up anyway, Jamie.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing.
Okay.
We'll come back to that at the next meeting.
Yeah, perfect. And in the meantime, if anybody wants to, add more or, leave a note in that file, I suppose you can do that, right?
Yep.
Sounds good. All right. We got way too much paper.
Okay, so survey and planning grant. We are still in the process of contracting with Paleo West. There was some back and forth between us and Mass Historic Commission and Paleo West regarding the credentials of the firm and whether or not they met the minimum requirements for the proposal. They had, Paleo West has never done work for Mass Historic Commission in Massachusetts. And so they just, because the grant comes from Mass Historic Commission, they wanted to verify that everything was going to be, that Paleo West can do the work that they're requesting, and they wanted to see past work samples of work that they had done, but it wasn't included in a format that Mass Historic Commission liked. So, but then went back and forth, and I finally got their approval to proceed with contracting a week ago Monday. We've started to put together the contract with Paleo West, and I got a draft of that contract out to Paleo West for review, and Mass Historic Commission to review this afternoon, right before the meeting. Hopefully we get a response to go ahead, and Paleo West signs it. We'll be starting startup meetings with Paleo West next week if everything goes well with contracting. And then things should move pretty quickly. We've condensed some of the timeline a little bit, but Paleo West has said that they're able to do the work and the timeline provided. So we're still looking to wrap up the project by the end of September.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Um,
That's great.
good news.
Thank
That's
you.
better news than we
Very
before.
good.
Okay. Yeah. The item number 7 is the New Haven Northampton Canal. I did get an email today. I did not even have a chance to look at it. Did you, Jamie? Did you see that?
So there's an email yesterday from Northampton, the Northampton representative. Is that the one you're talking about, Mike?
Sarah LaValle?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And basically, she was just asking for some information and to let us know that they're going before their CPA committee to ask for funds for the actual inventory work or the survey work, and was asking people on this who've been working on this project to come and show support for their project request or their funding request to the Northampton CPA. If anyone is interested in going to that meeting, it's going to be March 17th.
That sounds like it collides with our regular meeting. Oh, we could go as a group. Obviously, it's going to be on Zoom, right?
Yeah. But I'm not, so the canal working group has, so that we got I guess it was a grant from the state to work with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission over the last year. So we have to reapply for that grant to continue with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for this coming year to sort of wrap up the project. And then we'll have to come, as Northampton is doing, to go to the CPA for the survey work. We'll have to actually come to our CPA for requesting some funds to do the survey. Not sure if we talked about this before, but the total survey for all 6 communities is estimated to be about $60,000. So it'd be asking each community with CPA to contribute about $10,000 to make that inventory survey and National Register nomination happen.
And if my memory serves me correctly, being on the CPA, Jamie, would you agree that would be reasonable to state that the CPA would like the Historic Commission to come with proposed projects and would very likely be highly supported?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the commission, the CPA would love to fund a project like this. There haven't been a ton of projects related to historic preservation. The CPA has funded in the past few years, and where they've been small dollar amounts. So I don't see this as a big issue, or that the commission, that the CPA would deny it. But it would obviously be something that needs the support of the Historical Commission, and the application would come from the Planning Department or the Historical Commission. And members of the Historical Commission, it'd be great to have people there, but we're not at that stage yet. We still need to reapply for the state grant for PVPC to continue working on the project first. And I think Northampton is a little bit ahead of us in trying to commit their CPA funds because their CPA only votes on projects once a year, whereas our CPA will vote on projects on a rolling basis.
Okay. All right. I guess there's really nothing else to say about that whole project at this point, right? I think we haven't really had much movement since the last couple of meetings.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess that the PVPC put together the RFQ or the RFP for the consultant that would actually do the survey and the inventory and the National Register forms and things like that. But we can't put that RFQ out until we get funding, and we can't get the funding
So we put the, okay.
until we get the grant, until PVPC is gonna get some hours funded to continue working on the project.
Right, yeah.
And that request, that grant request will be, is due a week from Friday. So I'm gonna be putting that together.
Very good.
And hopefully, if there's any authorizations on it that need to come from the Historical Commission or any support letters, I guess it'd be helpful to ask the commission now, just to make a quick vote, maybe authorizing Mike to submit a letter of support on behalf of the Historical Commission.
Okay. Yeah, if we get a motion for that, we could certainly entertain it. Any objections?
Do we need a motion for that?
That'd be good. Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to have Mike write a letter on behalf of the commission to support pursuing the PVPC canal work.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, John, and Nora, and Mike. Okay, very good. We can at least make a draft of that at this point, right? Are we
Yeah,
gonna
I
need
mean,
it?
at this point, I'm not sure. I haven't looked through the details of what's actually required as part of the.
So if
application
necessary, we will definitely
Yeah.
do it.
And I know that it needs the mayor's approval, or
Yeah.
it's going to be officially submitted by the mayor.
Mhm.
So if the Historical Commission needs to support it, then we have the vote on record and we can work with that. And if not, we'll just.
Very good. All right. I guess we're at the end of the road here. Schedule next meeting. And that looks like March 17th, right?
St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, well,
Aren't we the second Wednesday or third Wednesday?
second, I guess. So yeah, we'd be second, right? I'm sorry,
On March 10th.
March 10th.
Is it possible, Mike or Jamie, to share the information for the March 17th meeting, the Zoom information or time and such?
Yeah, there isn't anything there yet, right? It's just
Right. It's just so there's the email that I got. It's just sort of saying like, we're having this meeting on the 17th. It'd great if some people could attend, but there's no information as to the time of the meeting or where it's going to be and all that. So when we do get more,
forward you the email and you reach out to Sarah too if you'd like to go, I suppose. I don't see that being an issue. You, Jamie?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mike. You broke up.
I'm sorry. I just said I could forward Nora the email, and if she wanted to reach out to Sarah to get the details on it, I'm sure that would be acceptable with
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah. I think also we'll find out more information and then we can also forward that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, we'll be meeting before then, anyways, Nora. So
We'll be meeting
Very
the
good.
week
All
before
right,
that.
well,
yeah. So if we
Thank you.
we can bring it up again then.
So I'll forward that email to the commission, and you can mark your calendar. It's probably an evening meeting, probably dinner time.
Is there
Thanks.
any word from the mayor as to when City Hall is going to reopen?
I haven't heard anything other than what the official words have been. My personal guess on it is that it's not going to open until we have
More
that,
vaccinations?
that we have like herd immunity through vaccinations or
At
something.
least,
Like
at
that.
least the fall, right?
So that'd be my guess. I haven't, like I said, I haven't actually heard anything official. So
All right. So the last thing we need to do is have a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Everybody moves and
Second.
John seconds. All in favor? Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay healthy, everyone.
Have a good month.
You all as well.
take care,
Yeah.
everyone.
You too.
Catch up